Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.
Hello friends, and welcome to Fairfield Today. I'm your host, Paul Jasson. There are probably some of you out there that may not be aware of what Rise Up Arts Alliance is here in Lancaster and Fairfield County, and we're going to talk about that today. It's an organization, nonprofit, that kind of looks to bring out the arts person in all of us. For me, that would be a challenge, I can tell you that. And then if you could find that arts in someone, it's the nurturing aspect to kind of develop that, and they do that not only in adults but in children, and then special needs children's too, and that's why we're going to talk about all this today. And we have with us the executive director, the artistic director, and founder of Rise Up Arts Alliance, Judith Cosgray. Welcome.
Well, thank you.
Glad you're here. It's been a while, several months.
Since September,
Gables.
Anne of Green Gables.
September, is that what it was?
Yeah.
It's a lifetime ago almost.
I know, it seems like it.
Yeah. But Rise Up Arts Alliance, again, we had you on earlier, but I got to hear you speak a few months ago, and we'll talk about an interesting thing that Judith and her group is doing about the overall arching name of it is the Penguin Project, and that's a pretty cool thing, but we'll talk about that. But you are the founder. What brought about this interest in starting a group like Arts Alliance?
I saw a need for activities for kids that weren't sport-oriented because my kids weren't terribly athletic. Mm-hmm. So when I started looking, the closest thing at the time was in Columbus, and that's quite a haul to take kids for 3 or 4 days a week for rehearsals. Yeah. So then I started investigating, and I said, well, I think I can do this. And we are now 5 years in and doing great.
You have a full year's lineup going on here, and we'll talk about some of that. So you not only work with adults, but with youth.
Yes, correct.
Right. You have some things coming up here next month in May. A couple of more than a couple, but some things we'll talk about here. What are the plays you've got coming up here?
We have Disney's Descendants, the musical, which a lot of people are like, what are the Descendants? So think of when we were kids, you had Maleficent and the evil queen from Snow White, and Aladdin's Jafar, and then Cruella de Vil. Well, they had children, but they were banished to the Isle and had no magic at all. Ooh. So now that King Beast and Belle have had a son, and he's 16, he's going to be king, and he decides to bring the children of the evils to the kingdom because he said the children should not be judged by the evils of their parents. So it's a great message of Descendants. So that will be May 5th, 6th, and 7th, and 12th and 13th at the Lancaster Parks and Recreation building that was the old General Sherman Junior High.
General Sherman, another use for a great school, repurposed to do great things over on the west side. I haven't been in it since they used that. Do you have the auditorium stage? Is that where you are? Mm-hmm. Spent a lot of time there as a youth. I was in the band and music over there. That's still in good shape?
It's still in good shape. It does need work, but just like any other old building that's been sitting for a little bit, it needs some work.
Parks will get on.
They're working on it.
It's going to be a good building for all the things that the repurposing and multi-usage that the parks have for a lot of things. It's needed. Yeah, for youth here too on the west side. That's a good thing over there. So that's coming up in May, and then there's one following that.
We have Spinal Crap, which is a parody on Spinal Tap, and it's our fundraiser for the Penguin Project.
Nice.
And that is, it's going to be at Outer Belt Brewery, so of course it's mainly adults that will be at that. It's all adult
I would
cast.
guess by the title of that, I thought maybe perhaps an adult.
Yeah, it's all 80s themed, and we want everybody to come in 80s dress and have fun, and it's the story of the manager is putting together a super group called Spinal Crap, and he's and before he gets a chance to announce who's going to be in this group, he dies. He's murdered. So then you have all of the people that are involved in 80s music come in and try to figure out who murdered him.
Ooh, so it's a
Yeah.
whodunit, sort of?
It is a whodunit.
Nice. And it's out at Outer Belt Brewing, which is on what? I don't know what the name of
It's
that
called
street is.
Dolson Court.
Dolson
Yeah.
Court. It's on 33 up, right around the car dealership, right up in there. I think most people probably know where it is. But nice place to have a play like this.
Yeah.
You know. That'll be
And
good.
the owners of Outer Belt have been great in helping us out to make this happen. So we're really grateful to them giving us a space.
That's great when local people come around, they see a need, and they see an organization like yours, a nonprofit, that they can use a helping hand, and they step up.
Yeah, that's the main thing is space, and because we're a nonprofit, we're funded only by ticket sales, tuition payments, and the fundraisers that we do. So we don't get very few grants. We did get a grant recently from Fairfield County Foundation for the pipe and drape system, which is
Nice.
the curtains and everything that go around the stage.
Every little bit helps.
Yes, but grants don't come around very often, and so we
Probably these days less and less.
less and less, and we work really hard for the funds that we get, and we try to use them very wisely because we're respectful of the donors.
Judith Cosgray is our guest today. She's the head of Rise Up Arts Alliance, a nonprofit arts organization. They do plays and other things they're involved in around here. They got a couple plays. We talked about the Descendants and Spinal Crap coming up next month. And that all kind of leads us to really what I was kind of interested in when I thought about having you back about that. Not only the plays, they'll be great, and we'll talk about more about those and how you get tickets, but the Penguin Project is something you're involved in now, and I think that, I don't know if it's relatively new, it may be.
It is new.
Relatively new, and really the only one in the state of Ohio?
It is.
Wow.
I went to a conference in 2019 and heard about the Penguin Project, and it was started by Dr. Andy Morgan, who is a pediatrician who
that.
also loves theater. So he deals with children with special needs, and they decided, the group, to make the Penguin Project. And so what it is you're putting on a show with the main characters are children with special needs, and they have mentors, which are their peer mentors that don't have special needs, so that they can pair up and help them on stage if needed. Otherwise, they're just background characters there for support.
Well, and it's got to be just great for, I would think, parents of these children now to have perhaps the only opportunity maybe they've ever had to showcase these kids and let them do this kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, it is. And because it's a national project, you have to designate yourself as a chapter of the national organization, and we are the only one in the state of Ohio at this time. We're the first one in Ohio. And I was really drawn to it because in my daily life, I deal with kids with disabilities all the time. So whether it's autism or dysgraphia or dyslexia, and all of those things go, and we already serve that population. They're already joining in our regular cast, but this gives the children with more pronounced special needs a chance to get on stage and be the stars of the stage.
And so I'd guess that no matter what that disability is, there's a place for them.
There is. For example, one production of The Little Mermaid, Flounder was in a wheelchair. So his mentor was dressed as another flounder and pushed him across the stage for all of his blocking. And then another that I witnessed was a child with autism, and he was verbal at times. So if you know kids with autism, they sometimes are not able to speak. So he had his iPad with all of his lines on there. So if he didn't want to speak at that time, his mentor pushed the iPad and it set his lines for him. So he was still involved, still on stage, still doing his blocking, but he didn't have to speak.
Probably loved it.
Yeah. And so there's some of those instances that really can be life-changing. There are stories that I've been told by other directors that kids that were nonverbal when they started, by the end of the process, are speaking. Some kids, especially with autism, that don't like to be touched, were doing choreography and touching and dancing with other kids. And then the most rewarding part you hear is the mentors. So you have kids that don't normally interact with others with special needs, so they don't know what to expect. And so many of them have said, this has changed my life. I look at people differently, and we've had a great time. And sometimes they even say, this is my best friend now. And then we've had other stories that I've read about kids that they end up going to prom together because They're just so close. So
great stories.
Yeah. So that's what really drew me to it, that everyone deserves a place and everyone can be artistic and bring them to the stage and let them have fun and learn along with it.
So we've got the plays coming up, we've got the Descendants, and then Spinal Crap. But then as far as the Penguin Project does, there's a sort of a meet and greet and informational meeting
Yes.
coming up. Is it in May?
May 31st,
Okay.
6:30 in the evening at the Lancaster Masonic Lodge in the dining room. We will be, and that's another thing, is we need to make sure that we have locations that are handicap accessible so that everyone can participate. So that's what we're working on. But the informational meeting will help anybody interested learn more, and we can start the process so that in July, when we start the rehearsal process, everybody's on board, and then the show will be in November. It will be Veterans Day weekend. We're
Very
doing
good.
Annie Jr.
Oh, that would be nice. Very
Yeah.
nice. We've got a couple minutes left here. RiseUpArtsAlliance.org
Correct.
is your website. It's a good website, very interactive. You can find out all kind of stuff about the plays and then about the informational meeting for the Penguin Project coming up. Now, tickets, how are they available for the two plays?
You can get them online at our website under the tickets tab.
Okay.
We have both Descendants and Spinal Crap up there. The deadline, you can get tickets up through the day of the show for
Okay.
for Descendants. Spinal Crap, we have to cut it off May
Probably
6th.
little.
Yeah, because we have to give
Sure.
them enough time to get the food. So that's
Sure.
why we have to cut that
Sure.
off early.
Well, it's RiseUpArtsAlliance.org is the organization. Judith Cosgray is the kind of the chief cook and bottle washer of the
That's
whole
right.
thing, and I'm sure you have done it all. But the things you do, the plays, we need more of that artsy kind of thing around here. I understand that, and that's what your organizational does. But the Penguin Project, I think that's really special. So as we get closer to that, we'll have you back and we'll talk about that, because this is I just think such a cool thing to do. It's doing a
Yeah.
great job. Good. Thanks. I want to mention Scott Gottliebson, who I've known for many years. Now he's on the board, actually.
He is
right?
on the board,
He's on the
yes.
board, and is he in both these plays?
He's in Spinal Crap.
Okay. That would be appropriate. Scott, if you know Scott, he's a wonderful, wonderful character. Just loves doing this kind of stuff. So, well, best of luck on the Descendants, and that's the first one. That's May 20.
It is May 5, 6, and 7.
May 5, 6, and 7. Sure.
And then 12th and 13th.
Okay, very good. So, RiseUpArtsAlliance.org is the organization. Good luck,
Thank
and
you.
it sounds like a fun summer coming up here.
Yeah, we're going to be busy.
Very good. Rise Up
Yep.
Arts Alliance. We'll be back in just a moment.
You walked down the aisle and promised happily ever after. Sometimes happily ever after means ending a relationship. We know the conversations are not easy. Deciding what's best for you, your children, and your next steps takes work and communication. At Dagger Law, we know there are no monsters in a divorce, only people trying to find their way. Local, trusted, experienced. Dagger Law.
The staff that have been here know what it takes. They've been on the other side. They see what it takes to make someone comfortable, to make the family comfortable, and really what kind of support they need. And so I think that's what really makes Fairfield what it is.
You quit smoking and thought, that's that. But here's the thing about lung cancer. By the time you see the symptoms, it could be too late. But now, there's a new scan that can detect lung cancer early, when it's more curable. If you smoked, get scanned. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
My name is Allie. I just became 14 years sober at the end of last month. Through the support of my family and friends, I got the courage to ask for help. And through treatment services and the recovery community, I was able to start my recovery journey. Now I get to work as a peer supporter and an addiction treatment navigator, where I get to help the next sick and suffering. If you don't have family and friends that can support you right now, you can find those supports through treatment providers, the recovery community, and peer supporters like me. Every life matters, and your recovery is worth it.
This message is brought to you by the Fairfield County Adam H. Board.
The Frankie Smith Funeral Home and Crematory in Lancaster and the Johnson Smith Funeral Home in Baltimore have a long and wonderful history of serving our community. Feel free to give us a call at 740-653-0652. Stop in and see us at either of our two locations, 405 North Columbus Street in Lancaster and 207 South Main Street in Baltimore. Respect for tradition, regard for change.
Hello friends, welcome back to Fairfield Today. I appreciate Judith Cosgray coming on and talking about Rise Up Arts Alliance, a good organization. And for any of you locally that have ever driven by Route 37 past Lancaster High School and Ohio University, if you notice this used to be just a bank on the side of the hill there on 37. That was nothing, and now it's something, and it's been that way for, I think, our guest will tell us about 35 years we've been doing this. It's Beavers Field, and it's I guess one of the real gems, I think, of Lancaster to have that field here in our community. And really the guy we got with us today is sort of the guiding light through all that. Started back in '88 building this, and here we are 35 plus years later. Beavers Field, Beavers Dam. I mean, it's Phyllis's Burgers. I mean, you got the whole deal going on out there.
The whole thing. Yep.
It's an amazing place out there.
We're a true complex now. Not
Is
just
this kind of what you when you thought about this? I know, okay, Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. We all know that. But is this kind of what you envisioned that it would kind of evolve into, or is this maybe even bigger?
Never in my wildest dreams I'd ever thought we'd have something like we have right now.
Just be a baseball field. That's
Just
enough.
A baseball
That's
field.
Enough.
We were planning on that, and maybe a little league field behind there, but the baseball field was enough for me to start with. And, and then when Tyler come along and had his dream of an indoor facility, it just developed into something very useful for the community.
Yeah, well, it's been a wonderful thing. 91 it opened.
91 we played our first game on there.
Broke dirt, what'd you say, 35 years ago?
35 years ago, 2 days ago, April 16th of
broke
88.
Ground.
We broke ground.
Yeah.
Moved
I remember those
dirt.
days. I remember going by there and what the heck is he talking about? I mean, look at this. This is a hill with a bank in the back. What are you talking? Yeah, well, I was so wrong.
Well, 25,000 yards of dirt later, we had an amphitheater style, and thank goodness to Jim Smelter. He worked two years up there moving dirt, and I moved home plate one time, and he had to move some more dirt. Wasn't very happy about that, but we worked up there on the weekends and developed that and got to play on it in 91. And as of last year, we played 193 ball games on there, and we've already played 26 games on there this year.
Could break 2.
But pretty close, yes.
Yeah, pretty close.
Yep.
Rainouts and all that.
Right.
And I got a great website, beaversfield.com.
Right.
Beaversfield.com. Good website. A lot of information on there about Beavers Field, about the how that all started. And also I saw a nice bio on you there, and let me say, thanks for your service.
Oh, well, thank you.
He was I saw you got out in May of 1969.
In 69, yes.
I got out in June of 1969. So I was right. You were in a little before me in 66. I didn't go into 67.
Yeah.
But he's wearing his honor flight shirt on. I have one too. He went before me, but what a wonderful thing that honor flight
fantastic,
is. It's a great day for a veteran to just, even somebody like us who's not as old as some of them are, and to see, it was such a joy to see the older ones go.
Right. Yeah. I just heard Boots Saturday morning saying the first honor flight this year was Thursday, and they had one World War II on there. That's all they had.
I guess I saw some highlights, but even if you I think we just had one.
Yeah, we had
on our
4 or
flight.
5 on mine.
Yeah,
in 2018.
but honor flight, we do shows on it here, and everybody it's a class organization. There is no doubt about it. So thanks for being involved in that. That's a wonderful thing. Thanks for your service too.
Thank you.
So,
You too.
So thank you. Get back to what we're talking about here. So Beavers Field, you can maybe, how many games you played so far? 20?
We played 26 games.
20 games, maybe headed for close to the 200 mark. And Lancaster, and you are the home again for Post 11.
Post 11, right.
What did that start, in 1949?
49 is when Lancaster had their first.
Yeah, I remember. You go back a lot of years. Tiny Phillips. I think back on Dave Pence. Just a lot of great people have been involved here.
I've been
involved with it forever
for 50 years now.
Sure.
Post 11, I started coaching, assistant coach in '74 and head coach in '77.
Can remember I think the tournaments where they get down to Athens.
Athens, yes.
At the university, played on the field there.
Stay in Sergeant Hall.
That's right. I remember those days. I mean,
not air conditioned at that time.
Those were the wonderful '60s and '50s, and it was a great time. But now you play all the games out here, and I know you've been awarded one of maybe the top field in all of Ohio.
Well, I think it's the nicest private field in Ohio.
Sure.
But we as far as high school, we have high school high school finals in the district tournament. We've just been awarded for the 30th year now the Division IV regional, and we have the regional final, and now we have Division III regional final. Only site in Ohio that has 4 regional games, so we're pretty proud of that.
You're just built for a quality, wonderful time to have baseball like that. And now, as he mentioned, his grandson Tyler, who we had on the show before, kind of had a vision, as you did, of the ball field. His vision was of Beavers Dam and this indoor facility.
Right.
And man, that thing has just gone wild.
Oh, it has. It's about 2.5 years ago in November when we broke ground on that, and he was in it in May, and it's been booked solid ever since. Either rental fees or the gym membership. He's added a couple personal trainers, a couple more baseball coaches, a football coach, a softball coach to give lessons. And every weekend, he said, it's Saturday and Sundays completely booked all day long.
Isn't that something?
And I said, the nice part about that is when you rent it out, well, he has someone working for him that's on there on the weekend. He don't have to be there the whole time. But he has done a fantastic job of creating that and managing that. And he's gotten several comments and about what he has done for the community.
Sure.
And that. And he has kids come from all Ohio for him to get lessons. And he's had to book some of those out to some of the other coaches and things too. So, but it's a first-class facility. The Visitors Bureau, the Chamber of Commerce, commissioners, the mayor, when we had the open house there, some of the people didn't realize what we had until that. And but he's the new kid on the block in that complex, and I'm so glad to have him because it relieves me.
Sure.
I'm getting up there a little bit.
The future's looking good.
Age there, so I know that's been taken care of.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's really involved into something special out there. Anybody that's ever, and I hope most of our viewers have been out there to see at least one game, but it's just a amazing place. It's sort of like the festival. When you go out there at the festival, you're just in that environment that is just perfect for what they do in the festival at OU. And I think the same thing's true for Beavers Field. It's just a wonderful place to see a game and to sit in that just field of dreams kind of feeling.
We made some major improvements this last year.
New lights?
All new field lights LED lights.
Make a difference?
It's fantastic. It took a while for them to get it in, and I won't get into the construction.
You don't want
it.
Let's go now. Let's keep moving.
We've had them on 3 times in 3 games now. And in one college game, a club baseball, Youngstown State happened to be in the field when the umpire asked for lights. I flipped them on, and because they come on instantly now, you don't have to let them warm up.
Sure.
And they looked in the sky like the sun come back out. But when it gets really dark up there, all the lights are concentrated on the field. It's just like the pro fields that they show on TV.
Yeah.
It's dark around.
Dark all around.
All you see is that. And
That's
I've
amazing.
compared the picture of the lights, lights on with one in the daylight, and you can actually see better with the lights than you can daylight. You have no shadows.
Well, it's just an amazing facility up there. And when we talk about Al kind of getting this all going back in '88, kind of the dream to go, and now the grandson has Beavers Dam up there at Beavers Field next to that. We want to bring up your partner through all this, and she has been a true partner for all this, the lovely Phyllis Beavers, Phyllis Pence, who I knew her as once upon a time, and she's got her own major world right there that goes on where the food is involved.
It's called the Phyllis's Home Plate. And when I announce the national anthem, and I say, if you've never been here, you have to visit Phyllis Home Plate, the home of the famous Phyllis burger.
Famous Phyllis burger.
And she's been doing fantastic. And of course, when we
didn't you just remodel that, redo all that?
It's been remodeled, completely repainted inside and out, a new floor, and of course she's got her heat and air conditioning both in there now.
Come a long way, Al.
It's come a long way since we were in that little stand, and I got a new office now. Tyler made me move my old office down for an umpire's building.
Nice. Took care of Grandpa.
So I got that, and I even got a couch in my office. I've never had that.
It's like a real manager.
Well, yeah. Tim Shoemaker was in there the other day, and he called it the Taj Mahal of my office.
I can see Shoes saying that. I can see that. Good to have him back involved, too.
Oh, it was. He come out and watched the Fisher Catholic Burn Union game in the press box with me, and then he went up and looked at my office.
Shoe had a few health issues going on, but he's back and looks great. Yeah, seemed like the old Shoe.
It is. We talked baseball and coaching and things, and I really enjoyed that. But we have quite a schedule coming up. The third week of May is the high school district finals. Then the June 1st and 2nd is the regionals. And then we have the wood bat tournament the second week of June. It's an invitational. There's 10 teams in that. And then we have a 7-2-6 tournament that they rent the field out. And it's like a travel team, and they have a showcase right before that. And then we have our post-11 classic over the 4th of July weekend. And then in July, we have the junior state tournament, the senior state tournament, Legion Ball. So June and July is even busier than what we've had in April and coming up in May. So
I imagine it's getting tough now if anybody says, well, we'd like to do something out there. It's probably getting tough to squeeze any more events on there.
Well, they apparently decided at noon yesterday it was going to be too cold to play Fairfield Christian and Burn Union game. Mm-hmm. So they called that off. And no one told me about it. And Phyllis went ahead and had the food fixed and everything. So I talked to the coach, Fairfield Christian, and he said, we're going to reschedule that for later on. I said, well, there's only one more date in April that you can reschedule. Yeah. And you know how May 7th is the high school drawing already for the tournament. Wow. And so they called me last night and said they scheduled it for next Tuesday. So that'd be another third straight week where we've had 6 games each week.
Well, Beavers Field out in 37, and we talked about the honor flight, and we were both have been on that and been able to speak about it, and we got about a minute left, but I just want to give a little due to one of our favorite principals that just passed away a week or so ago. They had a funeral for Jim Dobmeyer, and I didn't know that till today, but Al and I were at Talmadge School the day it opened. I knew I was, but I didn't know you. I think I was in the 3rd grade. You were in the 6th?
I was in the 6th grade.
The day it opened in 50, I don't know what that was, mid-50s, early 50s, before Sherman and all that, but Jim Dobmeyer just passed away, and what a great guy.
He was a fantastic guy, and not only through his leadership and education, but personally in baseball. And
he was a real gentleman.
He's had a lot of health problems last few years, but he got to come into church a couple times in January, and or it might have been early February. First thing he said when he walked in, he said, "Did the Dodgers leave their bats at home?" Because he's the biggest Reds fan, and he actually got a contract. They showed at the visiting hours of him catching a foul ball, so he got a Reds contract with the Cincinnati hat on. Yeah. So he was always picking on me being a Dodger fan, and he come in and he says, "Dodgers leave their bats at home?" And I said, "Well, they didn't need them against Cincinnati pitching."
Well, we had the same principal there at Talmadge School, Jim Dobmeyer. But anyway, Beaversfield.com website, got all the dates, everything on there. It looks like we hope today's an example of what a beautiful summer we've got ahead of us here. And no rainouts. We just hope for good weather. But you've got an amazing place out there. Congratulations to you.
And the whole
your
schedule
grandson.
was on that website also.
Yeah, everything's on there, beaversfield.com. Al, thank you, buddy.
All right.
We appreciate it.
Thank
Always
you.
a pleasure to have you on. Al
Thank you.
Beavers with Beavers Field. Thank you for joining us on Fairfield Today.
Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.